We will call the meeting to order again. Ron?
County crews laying gravel roads, graveling some needy areas on the gravel roads, replenishing salt and sand stockpiles, repairing equipment, making posting changes on some deficient bridges.
Repairing equipment, anything of significance?
Not that Mike mentioned to me. I don't think we've had anything. We've had two transmission problems in Calhoun show up this spring.
We had two last year, so.
Yeah, so.
But there could be more.
Last winter took a lot of goodie out of it.
Yeah.
Out of the equipment. So.
They just sit there hammering away at those.
Yeah, we're not gonna have, the winter's certainly not over, but at least we haven't had
No,
nothing like that.
it's been nice weather, it's nice that we get most of the snow off the roads and chance to blade the top couple inches.
We were just saying it before you came in.
They did a lot of grading, between here and Wall Oak.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of activity yesterday, and it's amazing what they could do.
Yeah, yeah. It just, the conditions were just right. It was dry enough that it wasn't too sloppy and it thawed out enough on top that it could move some material around. So try to get the tracks filled back in so they don't hold water when it does get more rain. Project update. The one over there in M35, I didn't put a note in there, but did talk to the contractor Dixon last week, and we're trying to get a pre-construction meeting set up for maybe next week. We're thinking they might start sometime around the end of March. But until we have a meeting, I guess we don't know any more for sure. Did add the bridge replacement Wheeler 2227 project in there that we're going to replace with the twin metal culverts. We ordered the pipe yesterday, and they're working on getting the plans put together to get the quotes from the contractor to install it. So hopefully early this spring we can get to that, depending on what the weather does to us. So.
You advertise for quotes? Or?
We just send out to several of the contractors we've dealt with before. We'll probably send out to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 contractors. Item 3 there, Mike is negotiating on a new chassis and body for the sign truck. Trying to get some, trying to determine how much he's thinking about trying to reuse the old boom on that truck and use that as part of the new one. And looking for the features that we want to get built into the new truck. Budget expenditures, I did send Jim and Tina the details on the expenditure numbers. I can get you guys a copy of them too. The other thing to remember when you look at them versus what the DOT budget was that I presented earlier is that last year when we budgeted, we did not budget the extra revenue from reimbursements for fuel, and so we didn't have the expenditures budgeted in there either. This year I've added $54,000 to the expenditure on the local budget for expenditure for fuel, and then a $54,000 revenue as income. And that's the same, it's just the way we're accounting for the reimbursement now. And secondly, on the new equipment, the number I had in the DOT budget for new equipment was the number with trade, and depending on how we end up trading, the auditors, if we end up not trading, like with Ziegler, and we actually sell the machine outright to somebody else, and that has to show up as a revenue. And so the $100,000 that I had in my budgeting for the value of our trade, added that into the new equipment expenditure and also into, as a revenue, if that's where we end up, if that's the way we end up trading equipment, so. The auditors didn't like it when we didn't trade and pay a boot price, where we paid the full price and then sold the piece of equipment to somebody else. They wanted that to show up as a revenue, not as, we used to take it back as a credit against the expenditure. So that, those two items are the ones that.
I just prefer, I would prefer to leave it the other way. I mean, it's more, it actually gives you a better reflection as to where the money was spent and where it came back to.
Right, but they want, if we sell it to somebody else and they say that's gonna show up as a revenue.
And I can understand, but for our purposes, it's just easier to follow. But
Well, that's what the DOT budget will continue to show is the boot between what we sold and what we bought. Because on DOT budget, we can still do it that way, and that's the way we continue to do it. Item 5 there, DOT is working on a construction agreement for 1014, the 196 project. He's sending me those, this is an agreement just like we signed for construction of New 20. Look at the crossroad intersections and how they're building them. And
what, with all the work that has to be done in the next 12 months, and we've got N28 and N14, 2 consecutive pavements, are we going to be able to, I mean, we can certainly encourage them not to close them at the same time, but what's going to happen there?
well, our agreement says they can't close.
Right, but that was before they started this N14 project.
And I expressed my concern. In fact, I sent an email to Tony Lazarovich, district engineer, and then I also contacted Mike Kruger, the construction engineer out of Cherokee. You know, pointed out to them that, you know, it does say that, and they needed to try to make sure when they let the contract for the paving on 20, which is a separate contract from the N14 reconstruction, that somehow get some language in there, so yeah, they don't close them both at the same time. And
That's coming up. The window was getting tighter and tighter, and there's a ton of grain trailers and feed trucks on both those roads. So if they're both closed, I mean,
yeah, I mean,
bad deal.
Again, they're planning on letting the, last I've heard, I think it was May, they're gonna let the paving contract from N14 to full.
In May?
Yep.
Will they be able to pave any of that in 11?
Yeah, there's some sections I think they'll have.
Yeah, north of you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's laid there long enough, but a lot of it, there's not much done really between
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't much, between 14 and 28.
But they've got a little
There isn't a
bit.
lot done.
On both sides of N28, both in Calhoun County.
Right.
But I mean,
Right.
if they're gonna try and pave from the county line east, there isn't really that much done. It's just, a couple miles north of us.
We were discussing the other day.
Maybe you know more about it, but like over by Highway 4, they don't have.
Yeah, the end over by 4, they've got a mile in there that's not done. And then the next section in there, they gotta be getting pretty close.
Well, I've driven on it this fall.
Do they have to let that winter then? Because we wondered about that. Whether they have to let it winter, one, but with the packing that they do, I don't think they have.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think.
I mean, they, on the stretch that they just opened, they actually let that in the summer of 2010. They let it in the summer of 9. And they were actually gonna start, one contractor had sort of moved in and was, well, they put the base rock down on, I think they had base rock down on over a mile of road before the winter, with the wet fall and the winter came early and shut them down, but they thought they were gonna get some paving done that year, but I think that year they let that in July. Now, I just talked to Phil Highland, and he said that he'd heard through some of the other people in District 3 that the paving contractors are really looking for something to do this year, so I got some paving contractors that are looking hard at this project, so they ought to get some good numbers, but and then they're gonna be chomping at the bit, running over the graders trying to get things done. I heard at one time they're gonna break that into 3 pieces, and I guess I don't know where
You
the
mean
breaks are.
N28 to 4?
Yeah, well, N14 to 4. Yeah, they're gonna let that whole piece of it get let in May.
So they got a lot of dirt to move in.
You know, I don't know, from the Cedar, they've only got about a half mile down to the east. West, I guess I'm not sure,
They've got a pretty good section done to the west in between N14 and the Cedar. But going east, it's just a half mile
is all they got
is
done.
all they've got done. And then it's clear to N28. There's nothing done through there.
And then I think you gotta get almost over to the first road in Calhoun County from there, from Albright's east, I think, over to, of course, that'd only be 2 miles. They got 2 miles in there, they're pretty well close to that. But yeah, I've expressed my concern about, N28, that they needed to put some deadlines in there so that would get done, graded and maybe even paved with maybe a gap for the main line. Maybe that they would do that this summer, before N14 got going.
Then they have to build their overpass
We're on 14.
on 14.
Yeah.
Well, they've already got piers on one
N28,
side.
they just-
That'll be a grade.
They just drive right over it.
Of course, at N14, they won't use the bridges there until they open it early. They'll get the traffic off before they get to the.
But they have piers built on N14
Yeah.
on the one side.
Yep. But I guess I made them aware of them. I'm not sure what else I can do. I've tried to.
You'd really, and because you live there, but there's a lot of truck traffic on N28.
There's not N14 is the closest convenient detour, because if you're gonna go the other way, you gotta go clear to Highway 4.
Right.
That's one area.
Well, some of that can run north out of here.
Yeah,
Because N14 doesn't go through, it's not a through road.
but then if you send a semi downtown.
I mean,
To D15.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple miles north of that, but that dead ends.
Yeah.
But still, it's easier to go up N14 than it is to come to this corner, get downtown and try to.
Oh, sure. We had, at a municipality meeting, we had a program put on by FC to show what they're doing at the early. And that's gonna be a very large complex when it's all done.
What are they gonna do there?
When the projected, and they didn't say how long it's gonna take, but eventually there's gonna be 8.5 million bushel storage with a fertilizer warehouse and an office and an in and an out scale, and then a big drying capability, and then they didn't. Well, I think there are discussions about a feed mill, but they're not saying, what might happen. But there's that is going to be a very large facility for grain handling when they get that done. It's, according to the projected plans now.
That'll be sometimes that could be a county road.
Well, that's every
Say
time.
175 goes, yeah.
Every time I get an opportunity with these DOT guys, I keep telling them that they need to really keep that, because that 71 and 196 are gonna both be used very heavily, and especially if Farmville gets a big facility out there, there are gonna be a ton of trucks on that.
Yeah.
You know, from the Oible and your area down there.
Well, if they put 8 million there, you know, what they don't grind into hog feed, they'll haul over to the ethanol plant.
Right.
So that's 8 million running on,
Yeah. And they're with the projected capability of handling, they're really planning on a lot of activity.
they say anything about that truck scale? The DOT for weight?
We keep, just kind of keep hearing off and on that they probably aren't gonna keep that open, but they're not committing to it, I'm just hearing it. But that 71 is, the county really doesn't want to take that back,
No.
just because of the road traffic that's gonna be on that. That'll be a ton of traffic.
And again, the thing we need to watch for there, I mean, there is no requirement that the county takes that, so if the discussion starts, I mean, they'll have to make the thing, you know, palatable enough for the county to encourage them to take it. But the other thing to watch out for is any legislation that would transfer that like we've had in the past, but there was no discussion. All of a sudden you got it. So hopefully that's 10, 12 years down the road.
And that's, we've all, what, about 5 years ago that happened, 4 or 5 years ago? How did those, visiting with the engineers of those who got, I mean, some of them really took a hit.
Well, and I know there was and I can't tell you which county it was, but I know I heard the story that there was one county that was in serious negotiations and had a fairly good offer from the DOT to take a section of road. And the legislation for that area said, this is never gonna go through, it's never gonna happen. And they didn't act on it, and they got that road and didn't get the money, so.
Yeah, we got the Wall Lake Road 36 and, what is it? Six? And
The
then we
small
got
section by the lake.
Lakewood cut off,
Yeah,
in that area, yeah.
you know, we're getting about 24,000, I think of it.
But these two,
24,000 a year is what we get.
aren't there 2 bridges on this piece of 71 that you would get with that if you ever took it?
They'll want to build new maintenance buildings on 20 other than the one they just built here. Well, I mean, because, their maintenance shed will be on a county road.
Be on a county road.
I'm trying, where is it in Calhoun? Oh, I know.
It's on 4.
Yeah, it's on 4.
They just built a new
Four,
one.
yeah, south of, by the school.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
I'm thinking there were 2 there.
Yep, there's one just north of 175, 3/4 mile, and the Boyer is about 3.5 miles up there, and then looks like there's a couple other, maybe there on north, there's 3 or 4 other small structures that they don't show as bridges, but they're probably box culverts, would be like, but what kind of shape they're in, I don't know.
Well, just with the projected activity of the Farmville plan,
Did they say anything whether the DOT was requiring them to put in turn lanes?
Yeah, they did.
They
They
did.
are going to. They better go to make them to.
They aren't gonna make them do it?
No.
Oh, jeez.
they should.
Yeah. He said that they got past that they are gonna make them make turns. And they're gonna start with one big bend, and there'll be room for 4 eventually. But right now, they're building one, and that's a big one.
2 million?
Plus a stadium,
Yeah,
and there's a stadium in the plans.
so it's gonna be, they had a whole drawing of, their plans, tentative plans.
Like the big boat, things like that.
Yeah.
Hog start.
Yeah.
Tarp covered.
Yeah.
They hold like 1 million bushels, or some of them hold 2 million.
Mhm.
I know the DOT was talking to them about making, they wanted me to add my 2 cents worth as far as making turn lanes in there. And I well, it's not our road. I'd like to see them, but I can't really.
Well, and it really would make sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
most all the ethanol facilities have them.
Well, or if they haven't, they've had a lot of issues with, I know that one over in Webster County, they back up on the county road. Semis are sitting on the shoulder of the road because they're through in the plant to get them off the road even. So that's been a big issue over there.
Do they do that at Arthur?
Yeah. Sometimes, you know, we're clear out by that convenience store.
Yeah.
Really?
Sometimes the convenience stores full of trucks loaded. way-
Yeah, you've been by there, Jack, you know. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But,
I think when I was driving for FC the other day, he said you had to take him like an hour and a half to get it loaded. Over an hour, which one was that? Was it?
yeah, we've been sitting in line for a good hour or so. Still, it's about $200 a load better, so I told Leo it's what I just.
Just
We
put it
don't
on your
need-
time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you get to.
Well,
Like
yesterday
yesterday we were
they're
hauling-
getting paid, but they're.
We're hauling corn that had 2 points drying against it. There's no drying charge in those 2 points. So their bid was, when we sold the corn, the bid was 20 cents better than Litton.
Yeah, that's right.
And they don't charge for those 2 points of drying, so. you can
Okay.
It's another
Yeah.
dollar.
They're 20 cents, you know, you look down the road, they're 20 cents over as we speak.
Anyway, I'll get you that agreement. I'll review that agreement with the DOT and get it to you. I know one issue with the public hearing that came up, or public meeting came up, was how they're gonna maintain access to Greenleaf's turkey farms. Because when they tear up.
It's a dead-end road.
Yeah, and it don't go west across, so you can't just have an access across the gravel. They're gonna have to, I don't know, they're gonna have to work out something with them.
Tell me, closing, when are they gonna close, when do they think they're gonna close 71 north of the lake? You know, for that bridge, that hearing room? Is that in May or June?
The project gets let in another month,
Oh, okay.
so, well, in fact, I talked to Hyman about that this morning. Apparently there's contractors that are anxious to get that let and get started, because they need work to do too, so it could start fairly quick.
There must have been a pretty good accident down there.
They nailed that guardrail, Jack.
Boy, didn't they nail that hard? It really tore up.
And those posts were rotten, and I went by it the other day, and I'm just going, I wonder if they'll spend a couple $1,000 fixing that, or just let it go
Oh, it's on the bridge?
till,
Yeah.
on the west side, on the south side. And the poles were rotten. You know, they've been there for enough years, and they're just kind of, you wonder if they fix that.
Yeah. They'll probably put something back in there.
Been that way though for.
Yeah, because they have a liability to maintain that too.
Yeah. The cost of fixing it is nothing compared to if something happens.
Well, the guardrail's still there, but it's just 2 or 3 feet farther.
Kinda dangling.
More than-
It's
the
kind
other
of,
way.
yeah, the post is, thanks, Ron. Hopefully you get over your cold or whatever.
Yeah.
Be sure to take it with you, David.
And don't be leaving.
Yeah.
Anything
Well, I
further?
guess I better wait till we adjourn
Yeah.
before I leave it.
If there's no other business, I'll make a motion.
Second motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All ayes. We are adjourned.